The day Sarah entered the world was etched in pure emotion, a testament to the profound joy that a new life brings. In the quiet of the delivery room, under the soft glow of the lights, her first cry pierced the air, a delicate yet powerful announcement of her arrival. Her parents, who had dreamed of this day, looked upon her with awe and unspoken love, their eyes shining with tears that spoke volumes. Sarah's mother, exhausted yet elated, held her close, feeling the warmth of her tiny body and the gentle rhythm of her breathing. Each little sigh, each flutter of her eyelids was a miracle to behold. Her father, usually composed, was overwhelmed by emotions, his heart swelling with a protective love he had never known. Grandparents, aunts, and uncles crowded the room, their faces lit up with smiles and tears, each eager to hold the newest member of their family. The air was thick with happiness, a palpable sense of unity, and hoped that Sarah's birth had inspired. From the very first moment, Sarah was surrounded by love and adoration. Her arrival had knit everyone closer, turning individual hopes and dreams into a shared future. In her, they saw not just a child, but the embodiment of their collective joy and the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Her birth was not just a celebration of new life, but a celebration of love, family, and the beautiful promise of tomorrow. Ever since her birth, Sarah's parents embarked on a journey filled with love, sacrifice, and determination. They worked tirelessly, balancing their careers with the demands of parenthood to provide for Sarah and build a stable, nurturing home. Once an entry-level employee, her father poured his heart into his work, gradually climbing the corporate ladder. His success was a testament to his skill and unwavering commitment to his family's future. Equally ambitious and dedicated, her mother juggled her job with motherhood's responsibilities. She symbolized strength and resilience, seamlessly blending her professional and personal roles. Evenings were family time, sacred and cherished, where they shared meals and stories, building an unbreakable bond. As Sarah grew, her parents' efforts bore fruit. They moved into a better neighborhood, ensuring Sarah had excellent educational opportunities. They were there for every school event, every milestone, cheering the loudest, their faces beaming with pride. Their sacrifices and hard work culminated in Sarah's high school years. She attended one of the best schools in the city, a dream her parents had nurtured since birth. Despite their busy schedules, they remained deeply involved in her education and personal growth, guiding and supporting her through every challenge and triumph. Their journey was a beautiful blend of love, perseverance, and the enduring belief in the power of dreams. Once filled with the laughter and love of her doting parents, Sarah's world was shattered instantly. A tragic accident, abrupt and ruthless, took them away, leaving behind a void no words could fill. The vibrant home that once echoed with joyous moments was now silent, a painful reminder of what had been. In her teenage years, Sarah was enveloped in a profound loneliness that seemed to seep into her very bones. In this time of heart-wrenching loss, her Aunt Helen, her mother's sister, stepped forward to fill the gaping chasm left by the tragedy. Helen, who had always been a peripheral figure in Sarah's life, took her in, offering a semblance of a family. But the warmth and security Sarah once knew with her parents couldn't be replicated. Aunt Helen, though well-meaning, was a stranger in many ways, and their connection lacked the deep-rooted bond Sarah had shared with her parents. Moving into her aunt's home, Sarah grappled with the unfamiliar surroundings and the stark reality of her new life. Her aunt's house, though comfortable, felt foreign, each room a constant reminder of her loss. The laughter and stories that once filled her evenings were replaced with a quiet routine, the kind of silence that speaks of unspoken grief and adjustment. Sarah's days became a balancing act between mourning her irreplaceable loss and adapting to her new life with Aunt Helen. Her once clear path was now obscured by the fog of sorrow and change, a journey she had to navigate with a heavy heart and the memory of her parents' love as her guiding light. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the initial veil of sympathy and concern that Aunt Helen had shown towards Sarah dissipated, revealing a far more unsettling reality. Aunt Helen's demeanor transformed from one of a caring guardian to that of a cold, calculating figure. She began to assert control over every aspect of Sarah's life, from what she wore to whom she spoke with, under the guise of protective guidance. Sarah, still grappling with the loss of her parents, found herself walking on eggshells, trying to navigate her aunt's unpredictable moods and harsh rules. The house, which should have been a sanctuary, felt more like a prison, with Aunt Helen as the unyielding warden. The true extent of Aunt Helen's nefarious nature came to light one fateful evening. On returning home from school, Sarah stumbled upon her aunt engaged in a calm, frantic conversation over the phone. Her words were laced with urgency and a hint of danger. Curiosity piqued, Sarah inadvertently overheard the conversation, only to discover her aunt's involvement in illicit activities. Shocked and scared, Sarah confronted her aunt, hoping there had been some misunderstanding. However, Helen's reaction was far from remorseful. Instead, she saw in Sarah an opportunity to further her illegal dealings. She began to coerce Sarah into assisting her, using threats and manipulation. She leveraged Sarah's vulnerability, her lack of any other family, to ensure compliance. Sarah's life, already shadowed by grief, became a tightrope walk of fear and moral conflict. She was forced to engage in activities she knew were wrong, each task chipping away her sense of self. Aunt Helen's true colors were now evident. She was not the guardian angel Sarah had hoped for, but a manipulative figure exploiting her niece's misfortune for her gain. Sarah's spirit wasn't completely broken, despite her aunt's iron grip. A part of her yearned for freedom, for a life where she could make her own choices without fear. This desire became a flickering flame of resistance within her, driving her to plan her escape. Each day, as she unwillingly participated in her aunt's schemes, she plotted her departure, seeking a way out of the web of deceit and manipulation she had been trapped in. Her aunt's betrayal was a bitter pill, but also catalyzed Sarah's determination to reclaim her life. The once docile and compliant girl began to transform, fueled by the desire to break free from the shackles of exploitation and to find her path, one where her parents' memories could be honored with integrity and freedom. Sarah's plan to flee Aunt Helen's clutches was meticulously crafted, blending desperation and determination. She knew that her window for escape was narrow, and any misstep could lead to dire consequences. Over the weeks, she squirreled away small amounts of money from the errands she ran for her aunt, stashing it in a hidden compartment of her old backpack. Each night, after her aunt had retired, Sarah would quietly plan her escape, plotting her route on a well-worn map. She decided to leave on a weekday, under the guise of her usual school routine, to avoid immediate suspicion. Her heart ached at the thought of going without a proper goodbye to the few friends she had made, but she knew it was a necessary sacrifice for her freedom. On the morning of her escape, Sarah felt a tumult of emotions: fear, excitement, and a sliver of guilt for the secret she was keeping. She dressed for school, her backpack heavier than ever, loaded with her few possessions and the saved money. With a deep breath and a final look at the room that had been her reluctant sanctuary, she stepped out, her resolve as steadfast as her steps. Once out of Aunt Helen's sight, Sarah's planned journey began. She took multiple buses to cover her tracks, each ride taking her further from her life of entrapment. She watched the familiar landscapes fade into unfamiliar territories, each mile a step towards a new beginning. Arriving in a distant city, Sarah sought anonymity amidst its bustling streets. She found a modest job at a local cafe, its owner an elderly gentleman who sensed her need for a fresh start and offered her a job with no questions asked. The work was hard, but it brought an honest day's wage and, more importantly, a sense of normalcy. The cafe owner, seeing Sarah's determination and hard work, offered her a small room above the establishment. It was a simple space, but to Sarah, it was a sanctuary where she could finally breathe freely. She spent her evenings learning new skills, reading books from the local library, and slowly rebuilding her life from the ashes of her past. Sarah's escape marked the end of her time in captivity and the beginning of her journey towards healing and self-discovery. She faced the world with a new sense of purpose, driven by the memories of her parents and the experiences she had endured. Her story was no longer of a victim, but of a survivor, a young woman who dared to break free and embrace the possibilities of a life she could call her own. Several years had passed since Sarah had last seen Aunt Helen, years in which Sarah had painstakingly rebuilt her life from the ground up. She had grown into a confident, independent young woman, far removed from the scared teenager who fled her aunt's oppressive grip. Her past with Helen was a closed chapter, a dark memory she seldom allowed herself to revisit. One crisp autumn day, as Sarah walked through a bustling market, her past unexpectedly collided with her present. Amidst the crowd, a familiar yet distinctly altered figure caught her eye. It was Aunt Helen, but not as Sarah remembered her. Gone was the air of authority and control. In its place was a woman who looked worn and broken, her eyes hollow, her posture slumped. Shock rooted Sarah to the spot. She watched as people steered clear of Helen, who was muttering to herself, looking lost and disheveled. Seeing her once formidable aunt in such a state evoked a tumult of emotions in Sarah: confusion, anger, and an unexpected pang of sympathy. Curiosity and a sense of unresolved past compelled Sarah to follow Helen at a distance. She observed her aunt rummaging through a garbage bin, looking for something to eat. The scene was heartbreaking, a stark contrast to the life of manipulation and deceit Helen had once led. Later, Sarah learned from local shopkeepers that Helen had been caught and imprisoned for her illegal activities not long after Sarah had left. Upon her release, with no friends or family willing to associate with her, Helen found herself destitute and ostracized, a pariah in the community she once manipulated. This revelation stirred a complex mix of emotions in Sarah. Her aunt's downfall resulted from her actions, yet the sight of her in such misery was unsettling. It raised a moral dilemma in Sarah's heart. Should she extend a hand to the woman who had caused her so much pain? After much deliberation, Sarah decided to approach Helen. Their conversation could have been more comfortable, filled with long pauses and unspoken questions. Helen, initially defensive, gradually crumbled into a state of remorse, expressing regret for her actions and the pain she had caused Sarah. Sarah's decision to help took work. She offered to arrange for Helen to stay in a local shelter and connected her with a community program that helped people rebuild their lives. It was a gesture not of forgiveness, but of humanity, an acknowledgement that everyone deserves a chance at redemption, even those who have wronged us. This encounter with her aunt was a profound moment for Sarah, a testament to her growth and strength. It was a choice that reflected her belief in compassion and second chances, not just for others, but for herself, a step towards healing old wounds and closing a painful chapter in her life.